Welcome to episode 4 of New to Hill Country. If you're new to the show, our podcast just looks at people within Hill Country, helps us figure out what's going on in the area, how to plug in more, how to get connected. I'm your host, Michael Hines. I moved here back in October of 2019 with my wife and children. I am the owner of SBG Texas. At SBG Texas, we teach martial arts, yoga, and meditation for both kids and adults. If you want to know more about that, you can check us out at www.sbgtexas.com. Our show sponsor is LMNT. LMNT is an electrolyte mix developed by Elemental Labs with assistance from Rob Wolf. Element is an amazing product. I use it every day. It reduces cramping in my muscles when I'm working hard, playing with kids, running around. Before I started consuming this product, and I really do use this every day, I used to drink an ungodly amount of water. I would feel all bloated and distended and kind of gross because I was just smashing water, but still thirsty. Started drinking Element, and boom, thirst quenched pretty quickly. It's not like the other electrolyte stuff you find on the market, a bunch of sports drinks parading as, a bunch of like sugary nonsense that's really just parading as a sports drink when it's really just full of sugar at the end of the day. Today we're talking to Kyle Kintsley. Kyle Kintsley is a long-term resident of Hill Country, New Braunfels in particular. And he's going to talk to us about living in the area, leaving the area, returning. And we get into talking about his mother's company, which is Gruene Soapworks. Now that's green the way that things are said in the New Braunfels Hill Country area, Gruene. So that can throw off people that are new to the area. Enjoy the show. Hi, welcome to the show. Welcome back to New to Hill Country. And we're here today talking with Kyle Kintsley. And Kyle is here to talk to us a little bit about, as with everybody, his time here in Hill Country and why he loves it here. And also a little bit about his mother's soap company, which is Gruene Soapworks. So welcome to the show, Kyle.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Kyle, are you from Hill Country originally? Tell us a little bit about where you're from.
So I've lived here since 1997, so 23 or so years. I've been here in the New Braunfels area, Hill Country. Moved here right after, or right in the middle of middle school, and basically I've spent my almost my whole life here, minus a couple years I moved away for a job, but we came right back.
Okay. Where were you before that? Where did you move from?
We lived in kind of bounced around. For the most part, we lived in Corpus Christi. For a little bit, I lived in the Houston area, but mainly the Corpus Christi, Cal Allen area.
Okay. And then, and since you've moved to, do you remember? I mean, is that something you can pretty distinctly remember, moving to Hill Country?
Oh, yeah, that was a big deal. We vacationed here all the time growing up. Schlitterbahn was our big family vacation every year. And
I see.
My parents had always intended to retire here, and the opportunity presented itself for my dad to quit his job. The company he was working for was offering like a buyout type deal, and so he really, without even consulting my mom, just took it and then said, "Hey, why don't we move to New Braunfels?" And she went, "Oh, okay, well, let's do that."
I'm reminded of. Did you ever see the old Richard Pryor movie, Moving? Have you ever seen that?
No.
There's a incredible scene in it. Richard Pryor was a genius, and there's an incredible scene where he has to take a job in like Idaho, and then the family's having dinner and they're having like this big argument, and he just keeps like mentioning the potatoes, like, are these Idaho potatoes? Like, I bet these are Idaho potatoes. And like, I don't know, I just kind of picture your dad there, like just dropping all these like New Braunfels hints, like, would you want to go to the Schlitterbahn? And your mom's like, oh, I don't know. It's like, what if we could go there all the time?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I guess that would be great. It's like, it would be, wouldn't it? Well, let's make that. Let's make your dream a reality, honey. Like.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it was described to me, basically.
And then, how did you guys take it? Were you, because you'd already been here, were you excited at that time, or?
Oh, I was thrilled.
Yeah.
I've got two younger brothers, and they were both pretty excited. It was disappointing to leave, what you're familiar with, all your friends and family and stuff. And almost my whole family at the time lived in that area in Corpus Christi.
I see.
And at this point now, I've got very few family that's still in that area. Most everybody's moved up here between Austin and San Antonio.
I see. What do you think it is that brings everybody to Hill Country?
It's just it's a beautiful place to live. Specifically in our family. I mean, people, when I talk to people about moving from Corpus, they're like, "Oh, don't you love the beach?" And while I miss the fishing and the going to the beach, Corpus beaches aren't exactly like your typical ideal beach destination. The Gulf of Mexico is kind of in certain spots can be a little dirty looking.
I see.
And so, having the rivers and having, access to all the things that you have out here, barbecue, you name it, it's a great area to live and grow up in.
I grew up in Iowa originally, and going to the beach in Iowa means pretty much going to like some like lake shore, or like there may be a little patch of like a river or something like that, where there's something that resembles a muddy type of sand. And I can understand. I've really been to Corpus Christi, so I don't know what it looks like down there. I would assume it's a much more closer to a legit sort of picturesque kind of beach, but there's beaches and then there's beaches, right? So been to beaches all over. So.
And the thing about this area is you've got the Mississippi River that dumps into the Gulf of Mexico, and so it kind of swirls. I see. I like the analogy, but sort of like a toilet bowl. So right there, here Louisiana, down Houston, and then just Corpus Christi, and just a little past that, you've got a lot of that kind of muddiness in the water, where the water just looks kind of green, but like a dark greenish brown color almost. But then you get down into Padre, and then over on the Florida coast, Alabama, that area, and that water's nice and blue. It's got that really pretty crystal clear ocean water that you see on the magazine brochures.
Right.
That around here.
Sure. Yeah. No, I was blown away in moving here at like the Comal River and just how clear it is. Like it's just it's probably for me, it's one of the highlights of being here is just going swimming in the Comal. Like, and I try to get out there about as much as I can. But yeah.
When I got my driver's license during the summertime, every single day it was spent on the river.
Oh, wow.
And, whether it was night tubing and or just go for a swim in the river, and don't even bother with the tube. Yeah, growing up on that was a big part of my childhood.
I can easily imagine that. Yeah. So have you ever left Hill Country? And
Yeah, in 2015, I took a job in Denver, Colorado, and so was looking for kind of a new adventure, and we decided to try it out, and moved out there. And the cost of living at the time compared to the cost of living here was astronomical.
Sure.
So just overall, between the state income tax and all kinds of different things, we just really couldn't afford to live out there. So we spent about 2 years out there, and decided we were going to move back to Texas. And we thought for a long time about where we'd like to move. Now we got an opportunity, we can go anywhere. we were going to come
Mm.
back to this area. Do we want to move into San Antonio? Do we want to move to
Mm.
Austin or Wimberley or Bastrop or something like that? And we
Mm.
came right back to New Braunfels. That's where our roots are.
Sure. No, I totally understand. It's very nice here. So yeah, I mean, I've obviously just moved here and made the choice to move here. So I
Right.
totally empathize with, you're looking at all these different angles and stuff. And yeah, I don't even
Yeah.
have family in the area, but I just like it here. So,
I desperately wanted to get away from I-35, and even
okay.
notwithstanding, I couldn't I couldn't do
Mm.
it.
Sure.
So rush hour traffic is still a nightmare. That's about
It is.
the worst
Yeah.
part of this area is
Sure.
35.
Sure. Yeah, that's definitely, I pretty much always try to find ways to drive around it. I don't want to drive on it unless I have to, basically.
Sure.
So,
Yeah,
it's just always a much more pleasant drive off of it. So,
definitely.
What do you feel like is the main feature in this area? What's if I was just new to the area, what is like the thing that I must do sort of if I moved into this area?
So New Braunfels, that area, or are you talking about just overall
Hill country in
the hill
general?
country?
Yeah.
Hill country in general.
Mm.
Man, there's so much.
Mm.
This area, probably the biggest thing that would probably blow a newcomer away that goes
Mhm.
on here that people don't realize is the music.
I
People
see.
typically associate Nashville with music or
Mhm.
or even LA or that kind of thing, but
Mhm.
this area and even New Braunfels is a uh, huge music scene.
Mhm.
And you get a lot of artists from the Austin area, which has also got a huge music scene, and it's not your
Mhm.
typical just country music or just
Mhm.
a certain genre or anything like that. I mean, all kinds of music comes out of here. So
Hmm.
you go through, but here between San Antonio and Austin, and there's every kind of music club and venue, and that's another thing that's been fun is just growing up and even as a teenager, being able to go into the bars on
Mhm.
weeknights during the summertime, and they'll do like a swing dance band at Green Hall and let you you don't have to be 21 to get in. You can get in and watch 2 Tons of Steel
Hmm.
do a show every Tuesday night, and just anytime you want to go see music,
Mhm.
all you got to do is pick a venue and see who's playing and
Interesting.
go.
That's something I really haven't taken advantage of. I should try to get on that more. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
obviously, we're recording this right now during the COVID shutdown and everything, so it's kind of out of reach at the moment. But
oh yeah,
but that should change in a few
yeah.
weeks,
Once
maybe a
everything
month or
fires
so.
up,
Hmm.
I've seen uh, Sister Hazel
Okay. Huh.
at the Whitewater, not Whitewater Amphitheater, but River Road Ice House.
Huh.
And then every Texas country band you can think of.
Okay.
And we got a lot of artists that live around here, like Randy Rogers and Wade
Huh.
Bowen and guys like that,
Huh.
that are big outside of
Sure.
this area, but make this area home. It's just, there's
Huh.
always something cool going on.
Huh. Yeah, I definitely haven't made great use of that yet. So just been.
You tend to take it for granted
Mhm.
when you've lived here as long as I have.
Yeah.
You kind of complain about, man, I just want to go hang out with my friends and have a drink or something and not have to worry about a band playing, and
Huh.
there's other people that are just like, oh man, I would love to have that kind of
Sure.
music scene around here.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I tend not to be too available at that time, so
Right.
I haven't really made great use of it. I think, but sure, I think we'll get there eventually. It's been a bit of a whirlwind on our end. We just so recently moved and had to launch the business and everything. So
Oh yeah.
once things, I'm hopeful that once things simmer down and then we can kind of enjoy things more and more. But,
Oh, definitely.
Tell me a little bit about your mother and what she does with her with the Gruene Soapworks.
So my mom's had a soap business now for going on 10 years, and
Okay.
it started really my dad struggled with, he battled leukemia for a while. And he had it for 15 years or something like that.
Okay.
And so it was one of those long-term things that as he got older, it started to progress a little bit, and he started having to get treatment for it. And so then just your regular bars of soap that you'd buy out of the grocery store, the different products in it, the unnatural stuff, the chemicals, the animal fats, that kind of thing would irritate his skin, and he'd break out. And it just really, his skin sensitivity, because of his cancer treatments, caused him to have a hard time with just regular soaps. And so they spent who knows how much money trying to buy different soaps to find something that would work for him. And finally, my mom, who's been pretty crafty my whole life, decided, well, how hard could it be to make it? So she did her research and started making it. And
fascinating.
Yeah, and ended up making soap that he just loved. And it worked. It actually helped him with his sensitivities, and he was able to get clean without having his skin break out, get irritated by the soap. So she turned it into a business, and she at one point had an account with Buc-ee's, the gas station here around this area out of Houston, and was in all of their retail stores. So I mean, she was doing pretty big business with them. They decided to transition to more of a corporate type name brand recognition type business. So for the time being, her stuff's not in their stores anymore, but we're working on getting her online business and her wholesale with other places, and even Buc-ee's if that opportunity comes back up.
I see.
Getting that fired up again. So.
Okay. So what does she have a shop here in town then, or?
She makes everything. So my dad passed away, and so she.
And I would assume that was the cancer. Is that correct?
Correct.
The leukemia.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and that was about a year later, and so she took the insurance money that she got from that, had herself a soap shop built in the back, because prior to that she was mainly a stay-at-home mom and wife. So
I see.
She went from having a husband that could support her to having to support herself, and so she did really pretty incredible with what she had to work with. So she built a really nice soap shop in the back behind her house, and she goes back there and she makes all of her soap, and so she doesn't have a store. We have an online store, but she doesn't have like a brick and mortar storefront. I
see.
But she's got an online store, and so that's something that we're working on getting fired up and really getting pushing the online sales, because she'd gotten really comfortable with the wholesale part of that.
Sure.
And then when that slowed down, just out of necessity, we started driving the online stuff, and she's seen a really positive increase in sales just from that. So that's been nice.
Have you spent much time with her making soap and watched the process, or?
I've kind of stepped in and out of the business with her. What I'm trying to do now is she's really good at making the soap and not real good at marketing herself. And so I've been trying to step in and help her out with the marketing side of it, driving her social media and her email ads and campaigns and stuff like that, really drive that part for her. And I mean, she went from doing, $30 in sales in an online business to driving that up, 500%. So in just a few weeks, just from, posting some stuff on social media. So it's really helped her business out a lot. And I think, I think with the right direction, she'll be able to make this a very successful venture for herself.
I've used the products myself. I actually probably just used it. Pretty sure I used a bar of soap from you today, actually, and it smells awesome, feels great. Like, it definitely has a different feeling. Like, I don't know how to Boy, this will tax me to try to think of how to describe things. Tactile descriptions of differences between soaps. It feels good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Feels gooder than other soaps. Like
That's right.
it definitely. I don't know, it has a really. It's really hard to pinpoint the right word here. It kind of has a very soft feeling. I feel when I'm done. Like I don't know. That's not entirely clear. Like some things you take, they kind of have like an oily type feeling. Some feel very kind of like almost like lubricating or something, like almost like a greasy sort of residue. But this doesn't have like a greasy residue at all. It feels very kind of soft and I don't know. There's a sense of cleanliness to it all. I don't know. I again, sorry, I am not a poet, especially not as regards
No, it's
skin
good
and
stuff.
texture and stuff. Yeah.
Which bar did you use?
Which one is it? You had the charcoal one. What was the other one again? That was like
the other one
kind of
I
like
think I brought was grapefruit.
Yeah, it's grapefruit,
Texas
right?
grapefruit.
Yeah, that's the smell that yeah.
Yeah, so the oils that she used, everything's all natural.
Mm-hmm.
It's made through a process called cold processed,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something I had to learn with her with this. Is there's
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 different ways or more to make soap, and this is just one of them. But the cold processed soap allows you to kind of form it in different ways. So if you ever see bars of soap that have like some of them, they look like cakes or cupcakes or whatever. You can kind of design them, color them. Really, the sky's the limit on how you design them. But they take about 4 weeks or so to cure. But she makes everything from natural oils and ingredients. The dyes are made from natural products for the dyes. It's not, your red dye number 5 or anything like that.
Sure.
So everything in it's essentially good for you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And you had talked to me a little bit about some interest in kind of doing some kind of, how would we describe this, like soap products for more specialized kind of fields and stuff. Could you talk a little bit about that? Yeah.
I'm in the process of creating it. It would be like a sub brand for her, Gruene Soapworks. Same company, just a different demographic. But it would be for like jiu-jitsu players or wrestlers or anybody that gets involved in mats. So tea tree is a common element in all the soaps that she makes. It also has antibacterial properties. So if you're somebody like myself who likes jiu-jitsu, but you got to worry about not so much your own cleanliness, but who you're rolling with and whether or not they're showering like they should, or you got ringworm and staph and stuff like that you always put yourself at risk with anytime you're dealing with a mat sport. This soap with the tea tree oil will actually help combat that issue. And so it's got antibacterial properties. The thing about tea tree, though, is it smells typically terrible. And if you go buy tea tree soap, like off of Amazon, it's usually a liquid form, and it doesn't lather very good. You got to pour like half the bottle into the little scrubber to get it to lather up, so you can get a good shower out of it, and it's really expensive. So I talked to her about it, and she was like, "Oh, I've got tea tree soaps that I make," and she also has activated charcoal, which is also another product that has healing properties, and it also it helps trap bacterial particles and that kind of thing and wash them off of your skin. So it's activated charcoal's got a lot of different uses, but that's just a few of them. So we had her make some of that up. Started talking to her about the possibility of making that into like a sport type brand and marketing that towards people who enjoy mat sports or athletics or that kind of thing. And we came up with Bump and Roll Soap Company, and So anytime you start a jiu-jitsu roll, you typically slap hands and fist bump. So bump and roll sounded good. I like the way it sounds.
Sure.
Kind of brings up the camaraderie of jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
And then bump and roll, the initials also make bar, so that worked even better. So Bump and Roll Soap Company is what we're working on. I'm hoping to have it go live maybe around Father's Day is the target at this point. But we've got our logo set up and our we've got our soaps, kind of our fragrances established. We just got to get names for them and all the marketing stuff that you got to figure out with that kind of thing. So I'm stepping in to help her out with that, and I think it'll be a pretty good.
Sure.
You
have one location you'll be able to retail at, which is our gym, because we take the cleanliness aspect pretty seriously. I know not all gyms. Sometimes, and I'm not trying to throw other gyms under the bus, but like you can get a certain macho culture, I think, that develops in gyms, which can be very destructive in a couple different directions, which, again, I understand it. I mean, everyone enjoys the allure of being macho, but you get guys that are like, oh, man, doesn't matter. We just roll. I didn't shower. Oh, do I smell bad? Whatever, but then it's, you start getting stuff like ringworm and staph and stuff. And it's no joke. When I first started jiu-jitsu, we were training at a university in South Korea, and we were just allowed to use the judo mats. And I don't know that they were ever cleaned. I have no idea even if they were cleaned, it would be nothing like what I do at my own gym. It certainly wouldn't be specialized cleaners designed to, make sure it gets all the bacteria off the surface and also isn't bad for people's skin. I have no idea what kind of cleaning, if any, they did. And I did get like kind of like ringworm at a certain point and stuff. And, it's treatable and all of that, but it's, it sucks. You're hey, what is that? Like, you kind of like wash it and you're like, and that's kind of one of the great fears I have as a gym owner, and why I make a special effort to keep things clean. And I'll be super happy to have to retail something specific just to encourage and ensure that people are armed with the proper tools to keep themselves clean. And I mean, we actually have mat rules because the gym had just opened up. We haven't had a chance to get that banner up, but one of our mat rules is that, you better be clean coming on here, like don't be running here from like, working in the sewer all day or whatever. You have to be conscientious about everybody else. So.
Absolutely. And if I had just started jiu-jitsu and was out on the mat a handful of times and ended up getting staph, that'd probably be the last time I got on the mat. Especially
exactly.
If you don't know better. So that could be a huge turnoff from anybody that wants to try and enjoy the sport.
Sure.
And, my attitude is I can't control what the other guy does. And I wouldn't go and support your gym if I thought you weren't clean, but I can't control how the mats are clean, but I can control how I clean myself.
Exactly.
That's kind of the motivator for what we're doing.
No, I think it's a very cool thing to contribute to a better culture for jiu-jitsu. And that's something that I believe in strongly, which is creating the right culture for everything. I mean, I think unfortunately a lot of, oh boy, I'm going to maybe even put my foot in my mouth here, but, there's a lot of talk about jiu-jitsu as Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and it's mostly true that it is a Brazilian thing. It's a Japanese thing that made its way to a Brazilian family known as the Gracies, and they really took it to another level. And I think the reason that it actually gets called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in a lot of parts of the country is because the Gracies trademarked Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which is what they moved to the States. So then when you had derivation schools off of them, they were sort of like, well, we better call it Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because they couldn't call it Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Well, the other side of that is like Brazilians have a very strong machismo culture, and they have, unfortunately, maybe infected parts of the jiu-jitsu culture with and what I consider to be negative aspects of that. And I'm not trying to knock Brazil and Brazilians or anything like that. Just every culture's got its good and bad and stuff. And
Sure.
the strength of machismo culture or masculine culture is bravery and like toughing things out, holding fast when things get hard. There's nothing wrong with masculine culture. But it has its own, everything's got its own downside. And I think sometimes that downside comes out in cleanliness, that people are just sort of like, whatever, they just take a very lax attitude towards it because they have this idea that like, I'm so tough that it doesn't matter if I'm clean. And it's like, well, staff doesn't really care how tough you are.
No, not at all.
It does not observe your toughness and hold it in any kind of regard. If you're dirty, you're dirty. So
right, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean that'd be cool having you here, and just and that'd be great. It'll make my lobby smell great too, just having it on there to market it in there. So just thinking from a businessman's perspective, when moms bring their kids in and they smell that coming out as the first thing that hits them when they open the door to my gym, that's a great win for us right there. Versus like the last thing you want is moms to open the door and they're like, ugh, and they're like holding their breath to come into the gym and check things out, which honestly, some of the gyms I've trained in maybe they have that effect more or less. So
it smells like musty socks.
Yeah. It's not what you want. It's not what you want. Nobody. I mean, it's like, even if you are a tough guy, like, where would you prefer to be? In the place that smells halfway decent or the place that smells rank? I mean, it's just it's universal, I think. Cool. Well, hey, Kyle, anything else you want to talk about with what do I need to do to buy some of your mom's soap? Like, walk me through that process.
She's got a website, and so it's Gruene Soapworks, like the little town in New Braunfels, or the dance hall. So Gruene Soapworks. So greensoapworks.com is the website. She's got a Facebook page, Instagram, and we're trying to get her more active on all that, and so go there. Right now we're actually doing a Mother's Day sale. I don't know if this will roll out before Mother's Day, but buy 4 get 1 free, and then we're throwing in. She's also got some cool lotion bars that are little hand lotion bars. So we're throwing one of those in as well. But we're getting the business fired up for her, and she's doing great, and she's excited about what's coming, and so I just appreciate you having me on, man.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on and telling us all about it, and we'll be in touch. And I can't wait for the COVID situation to kind of dissolve and at a reasonable rate and with all safety in mind, and we can get things back going at the gym, and we'll see you here. So, all right. Well, take care, Kyle. Okay.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.